What's poppin' people, it's your boy Shaq, aka Black Goku, and today we're here with something very special. I've never done this before, so bear with me. This is something that I have always wanted to do for the channel, but have never really got around to doing it. So here's what we're doing. If you can tell by looking at the title, we are going to be doing a live reading slash, read reaction to the most up-to-date, most current chapter of ReZero Arc 9 that is released. This is the direct or not directly translated, but this is the direct file for the web novel. So again, if you're not caught up with Arc 9 at all, then I would say, click off the video. But if you are, you're here or haven't seen it yet, you are able to access this via the website Witch Cult Translations, which I have a link in the description for that. And then you'll click on this little tab that says original web novel. But yeah, so the last chapter that we consumed, or specifically that we reacted to with Chibi, was chapter 14, Strongest. Now we're going to be reading chapter 15, The Loser, and hopefully the music isn't too loud. I'm gonna go and turn it down just a wee bit, just to make sure you guys are able to hear me well enough over the music. So without further ado, let's jump into this. Now, don't expect some super crazy, voice acting, or anything like that. I'm gonna be reading it, but I'll try to put in some voice and inflections and all that good shit. But okay, here we are. Your father is in custody of one of my associates. The moment he played his trump card, Aldebaran realized he had been defeated. 132,044 attempts. The number of times it took to complete one problem. The habit of counting was something the witch had trained him into, but this was only the second time in his life that it had happened this many times. And just like the first time, Aldebaran, I almost said it like Priscilla says it, Aldebaran was defeated once again. They were thoroughly prepared, had every possible strategy in place, and had endless opportunities to fine-tune their plans as long as they weren't discouraged, yet they lost. I feel really, really disgusted by how weak my heart is. I have a weak heart. It was a deadly poison that made Aldebaran hate him much more than his lack of talent, his efforts going unrewarded, or the fact that no one loved him. I wonder how much of his backstory we're going to be getting. So, by the way, before I go any further, again, this is my first time doing this. Disregard, if I am dumb, have a hard time reading, because that's something that, I should, if you come into the streams, when we're playing some of the games, sometimes reading is, rough. I pause a bit, and I am going to deliberate, kind of think about, let's say some of my thoughts out loud as I'm going through. So just with that in mind, just bear with me, guys. Bear with me, guys. After repeated trial and error with the dragon, the Sword Saint finally succeeded in making him bleed. Wait, the Sword Saint finally succeeded in making him bleed. I guess another thing is that, this is Google translating this, so there may be some, errors or issues. This isn't an official translation. This is just the site, but Google's translating it, I guess. Anyway, turn this down a little bit too. I don't want it to really echo. Actually, I don't even need that to be particularly loud. Okay. Let's see where. Okay. That successful experience was overturned by a ridiculous blessing called the Bloody Protection, which only got stronger the more blood was shed. But the sight of both his arms being rendered useless was a victory. To be honest, Reinhard had been fighting without receiving many injuries, so she was hoping that by making him experience pain, his strength might be diminished. But unfortunately for him, the world's strongest man, the strongest man of all time, and the strongest man of all time, was also resistant to pain. Damn. Sorry, I was just making sure that I was reading that right, because it says the world's strongest man, the strongest man of all time, and the strongest man of all time was also there must be like a different way to read that, but whatever. But that's insane. So like, I mean, a lot of people knew about his divine protection of like bleeding or power bleeding. I'm not sure if this is a separate one or if this is just a rewording of that, but sure, bloody protection. This is crazy. This is crazy. Therefore, even though both his arms were completely torn to shreds, he didn't change a single expression. That's why I understand. Aldebaran nodded as Reinhard looked down at him, who was laying at the sea of sand in front of him. The unpleasant feeling of gravel in his mouth, the taste of blood gushing from the cut on the inside of my cheek, and the shock waves making my whole body feel tired and in pain were unbearable. But I couldn't help but speak up. Reinhard hadn't changed a penny in over 130,000 battles, even though his arms had become so worn. But now, he had seen his face distorted in grief. I know. Aldebaran repeated his words of understanding to Reinhard, whose expression resembled that of a child who had let go of his parents' hand and become separated from them while shopping at the mall. Repeat and continue. Family always holds us back. I can't believe what you say is true. Why don't you take a look? For example, you know, the Duke's weather vane protection. I can tell you if someone is lying, so you can see if I'm telling the truth. Wait, what? For example, you know, the Duke's weather vane. Is that the divine protection of wind reading like that Krush has? It is. Can't you do that? There's a trauma in taking away someone's blessing. Okay, I gotta make sure that I'm aware of who's saying what, because I mean, like, it can be a little confusing with the fact that there's no, like, you know, indicators, but I digress. Like, I assume. Let's see. I think this is Reinhard. This may also be Reinhard. Or this might be. This is definitely Reinhard. This is probably Al. Okay, whatever. Upon hearing that, a look of pain crossed Reinhard's face. The invincible and impenetrable Sword Saint's defenses were breached, like water overflowing from a dam. The more the seeping water hit Aldebaran, the stronger his senses of defeat became. He couldn't win in either body or skill. Because of that, he decided to attack his mind instead. It was a strategy that was apparently effective. What Aldebaran had tried more than 130,000 times and failed to do, he was going to be able to accomplish without shedding any blood or sweat, simply by being despicable. And that was through no fault of the young man born Reinhard van Astraea, who was destined to become the Sword Saint. Well, then, how about we use logic to solve it? Logic? Yes, logic. Aldebaran raised his body up onto the sand with a grr and cornered Reinhard. If Aldebaran could rise, there was also the option of fighting while still planting doubt in his mind. However, there was no sign of Aldebaran waking up from his coma. Oh, he's talking about Volcanica. Right? Yeah? He's talking about Volcanica? And the key to accessing his heart had already been used. So, all he had to do was use the key to pry open the closed route. Aldebaran made up his mind. As you can see from what I've done so far, I've done everything I can to prepare to face off against the Sword Saint-san. I have a mountain of plans, the miasma field Augrius dunes, and I have made Volcanica, no, the divine dragon, my ally. Strictly speaking, I got through that part using a hidden technique, that's right, but even if I'd gone that far, I still wasn't confident that I would be able to defeat you. And in fact, it didn't work. So, You understand, right? My father was a supporter of Princess. There were plenty of chances, opportunities. Sorry. Let me turn off my notifications. That is something that I forgot to do. Okay. Alright. Of course, Aldebaran was certain that this was not the reason why Priscilla had brought Heinkel into her camp. Proud and haughty, not shying away from declaring everything in this world to be hers, Aldebaran's beloved woman forgave everything. Forgave everything. Beauty and ugly, equality. Beauty and ugly, equally, whether she liked it or not. He would not have used Heinkel to defeat Reinhard, nor would he have disliked Heinkel or gone out of his way to harm him. The root of her thoughts was hidden deep within her heart, as fierce as a flame, and could not be revealed. Or maybe that's what he should have done. Perhaps Aldebaran, who had lost his left arm, should have groped around in the flames, prepared to be burned to ashes and turned to charcoal, even if it meant being scorched. In that case, Priscilla Barriel would still be. He's nowhere to be found anymore. Lord Al? I have no reason to hesitate. I can take such measures without any problems. As Aldebaran asserted this, Reinhardt's eyes narrowed slightly. Even Reinhardt, who was unwilling to receive the Wind Veins divine protection for various reasons, should have been given enough information to make him believe. Okay, so like apparently someone has this divine protection. This is a very specific divine protection that someone has, and he could get it hypothetically, but he doesn't want to take it from them. Silence. At a glance, Reinhardt's injured arms had not yet begun to heal. Blessed by the world and loved by destiny, Reinhardt hears that if he is injured, the surrounding spirits will flock together to heal him, for the Augrias sand dunes are filled with miasma, the natural enemy of spirits. That's why Reinhardt's fangirls can't gather there. Perhaps in the history of history, no one other than Aldebaran had pushed Reinhardt to this point. What do you want from me? As if squeezing something out, Reinhardt climbed onto the hostage negotiation table. Hearing this, Aldebaran exhaled deeply, feeling that it was worth it to have tormented his heart. It's nothing big. I won't ask you to follow me like a Shenron. What? Is that a Dragon Ball reference? Or, like Wukong reference or something? Okay. Or make any other unreasonable demands. I won't make you betray your master or do anything that I would hate if someone did that to me. I don't understand. Can't believe it. You're using my father as a shield, and then you try to speak of your conscience? What a shameless person. I feel sorry for you, nerd, who has to I feel sorry for you, nerd, who has to deal with such a person. My request is simple. I want you to just let it go. Miss? What? Aldebaran nodded his head in response, implying that it was impossible. He had no intention of imposing such unreasonable conditions as ordering Reinhardt to commit suicide. Ooh, am I allowed to say that? Screw it. Okay, I gotta make sure, like, in advance, I'm not saying anything that may give me demonetization. I mean, not that it matters too much. I want to read this, guy, you know, for you guys, so whatever. I may, like, just edit that out. Reinhardt to self-delete by demanding that he stop his activities of the Council of Sages in exchange for his father. First of all, it was already clear that Reinhardt would not go along with hostage negotiations. Silence. He is genuinely concerned about Heinkel. Does not want his enemy Aldebaran to die, and is worried about his family, Blam and Ezo, who remain in the tower. And when push comes to shove, all of these human qualities can be sacrificed to cruelty in order to maintain balance in the world. Reinhard is able to sacrifice Heinkel, who he is genuinely worried about. He is able to kill Aldebaran, who he does not want to see die even though he is the enemy. And he is able to leave his family members Flam and Ezo, who remain in the tower, to die out of concern from them. Therefore, only those who are willing to sacrifice themselves to protect the greater good can become the Sword Saint. Let me say one thing. Even if you let me go now, I won't have any detrimental effects on the world. On the contrary, it will remove 2 users of illegal techniques from the royal selection, and it will increase your master's chances of becoming king. Veldt-sama does not wish to obtain the throne by eliminating her opponents. That's noble, but I guess that's true. If you're the type of person who doesn't mind that, then you could have eliminated that option the moment the royal selection began. This was not a bargaining chip, and I knew it. There were many twists and turns, but in the end, Priscilla had accepted the other 4 candidates for kingship. There was no way those who met her standards would go along with a boring deal. In the end, the hostage negotiations themselves are a farce with a predictable ending. No matter how much he tried to explain, the fact that Aldebaran was a dangerous being was already proven by Reinhard's broken arms. Even if he insisted that he was a safe man, there was no way he could be believed. There was no way that the Sword Saint, Reinhard van Astria, would let Aldebaran slip away. So what was the point of this conversation? The answer is clear. Everything Aldebaran has orchestrated is solely for the purpose of achieving his future goal. Here it comes. Aldebaran sensed the subtle change in the air before anyone else. Because, unlike Reinhard, who hadn't anticipated it, Aldebaran had been waiting impatiently for the arrival of the one who would bring an end to his never-ending battle with the Sword Saint, Reinhard van Astria. That's stupid. Half a second after Aldebaran, Reinhard caught sight of them and let out a stunned cry. It's likely that half of Aldebaran's life... Wait. Sorry, hold on. I kind of got super excited for what's about to happen. Half a second after Aldebaran, Reinhard caught sight of them and let out a stunned cry. It's likely that in the half of Aldebaran's life that Reinhard has lived, he has peered into the depths of many different worlds that people his age have never seen before. He had made a pact with the Kingdom of Lagunica and was bound by a strong relationship of trust with them. But even in a situation where the divine dragon Volcanica had turned against him, he remained calm and responded calmly. Reinhard was speechless. It was no wonder. It was the first time he had ever seen such a thing. The Augrias sand dunes where the Pleiades watchtower was built, the reason that the tower was built was not so that a fighting-weary sage could retire, nor because a curious witch wanted the house, the tasteless library she had tricked Ad Lagna into creating. The jealous witch. It was for the purpose of keeping an eye on the sealed thing. Interesting that they referred to her as a thing. That was when Aldebaran's 132,044th battles began. With this, I was able to administer first aid, but saying that, Petra finished wrapping the bandages tightly and looked at the 2 injured with concern. Petra had just been tending to the limp, unconscious Garfield. Garfield and Ezo had collapsed on the top floor of the watchtower, and Petra had carried them up to the 4th floor, where they had finished treating them as best they could. Petra will treat Garfield, and the other Ezo will be treated. The procedure has also been completed. Sorry, I'm so sorry that dude. I'm cooked right now. I just got up from a nap and I checked it. I'm just like a little bit out of it. I'm a little bit out of it right now. Actually, let me grab my water. Was not extremely prepared, but we're doing this. If I have to do like another take, Like a wee ball, you know? Okay. Okay. Let's see, where am I? Okay. The procedure has also been completed. Thank you for lending me those tools. No, it's fine. Anyway, are you okay, Flamchild? Yes. Fortunately, Al-sama only restricted my movements and did not harm me. Flam replied, gesturing to his own body. Hearing the name she spoke, Petra's expression clouded over. Flam was safe, but Garfield and Ezo were in critical condition. And it was none other than Al's doing. Not only did he not raise his hand against Flam, he also did not raise his hand against Petra and the others. However, that does not mean that Al's actions can be justified or forgiven. Have you both finished treating them? Petra was silent, clenching her fists in frustration. From behind her, Meili called out, peering into the room. Meili had declined to be a healer in the name of guarding the tower, and, with a small crimson scorpion on her head, she looked over at Garfield and the others, who were wrapped in bandages. Both Kiba-san and Sensei-san are wrapped up in bandages. You both have horrible burns all over your bodies. Would have been nice if one of us had been able to use some proper healing magic. I'm sorry. Being around you, young master, has diminished my motivation to learn magic. I'm not sure who's talking. I assume this is Flam and Flam and Ezo? Let's see. Don't be depressed, Petra. I'm not good at healing magic, let alone bandaging. I was pretty haphazard when I was doing it for Elsa. Wait, Meili? Oh, I forgot Meili's there. Petra's heart was not at ease even after hearing such excuses. There were no excuses, and such comfort. There were no comfort. See, I really like Tappei's style of writing, man. I have not read enough novels to be able to boast and talk too much, like, in regards to the writing styles of different authors. Because, like, a lot of things that, like, I've read, I have, like, read quite a bit of, like, let's say, Lord of the Mysteries. I'm, like, in the 400s, like, as far as, like, the chapters. Conversation for a different time. I enjoy Lord of the Mysteries, but I prefer this style of writing over Lord of the Mysteries. I'm not trying to bring up, you know, another fandom into this, you know, this is just like this, but I'm just saying, like, I just like this style of writing, because it really conceptualizes, like, what these characters are feeling on, like, a fundamental level. It says, Petra's heart was not at ease even after hearing such excuses that were not excuses, and such comfort that was not comfort, you know? It's like when someone passes and, you know, like, someone's trying to console you by saying, like, you know, my condolences and all that stuff. It's like, sure, they're saying what they feel like they should say or what they could say to try to alleviate things, but they know that this false sense of comfort isn't actual comfort. It's not helping the situation, and it's not helping them get over how they're feeling, which I just, like, that's an interesting way to convey it, and I love that this is, like, Tappei's style. I absolutely, like, love it. Let me make sure. Okay, I'm just gonna put that right there, just so I can see. Okay, but yeah, just a little side tangent. Okay, one reason was her lack of aptitude for water magic, which is healing magic. But the reason she had not mastered the necessary skills for this situation was undoubtedly due to her lack of resolve. If only Garf would wake up. He ends up healing himself, but the one on Amelia's side who can use healing magic— oh wait, no one's reading that. Who can use healing magic the most is Garfield. With the divine protection of Earth Spirit, he becomes healthy just by standing on the ground, and the strength of Garfield is that he can use healing magic in that state, which is really insane. So he's basically just standing on the ground, passively healing himself, while he can physically use magic to heal himself in addition to that he's getting— oh my gosh, she said his name. She said the coach's name. So it can be said that neither Petra nor the other comrades in the camp had anticipated that Garfield would be the first to be unable to fight. No, this time it wasn't Garfield who was unable to fight first. Subaru. Petra's lips called his name as she placed her clenched fist against her chest. Subaru and Beatrice were nowhere to be found inside this tower. They had been neutralized by Al before Garfield and the others. But where on earth had they gone? I don't want to think about it, but I can't help but imagine that they were wiped out, leaving no body behind. Judging from Kabuto-san's attitude, that didn't seem to be the case. There's that. It's just a consolation. It's not a consolation. Consolation means I'm lying for your sake. It's not a lie. This is not a lie. This is my true opinion. It's not like that because I can borrow the power of the demon beast. But it's hard to make a corpse disappear if you do it normally. So I think Kabuto didn't kill his brothers, but took them away by some other method. Are they referring to Al by saying Kabuto? Kabuto? Meili placed her finger to her lips as she made a guess, her dangerous words being based on experience making Petra frown. As Meili said, it would be best if Subaru and Beatrice weren't dead. If she wanted to take them somewhere, she could get her eyes back. What on earth was Al thinking? Whatever Al-sama is thinking, his plans will be shattered immediately. My, you speak with a lot of confidence. Suddenly, Flam blurted out, causing Meili to close one eye and tilt her head. As Meili busily fiddled with her long braids, Flam nodded in response. Yes, I won't go into details of how I did it, but I told my sister, Graces. Okay, what happened here? Graces is currently with the young master, so I'm sure she'll be able to convey the same information to him. Young master? Or young master? The Sword Saint Reinhard van Astrea. That is your name, young master. When he spoke, Flam seemed to puff out his chest and look proud. Petra's eyes widened at the mention of Sword Saint, but Meili, who was nearby, responded with a "What?" that could be interpreted as both dislike and sympathetic. If the Sword Saint can come flying over, then it seems like it won't matter what Kabuto was planning. In fact, I'm curious. I don't remember them calling Al Kabuto like before, or Kabuto. Anyway, in fact, I'm starting to feel sorry for him. Meili is the kind of person who can say things like that. The Sword Saint-san was clashing with Shenron. Okay, Shenron is probably just like their way of saying like big ass dragon. As if it was the most natural thing in the world, you know? But now that Shenron-chan is with Kabuto-san, I wonder if he won't notice. I wouldn't feel sorry for Al if he got hurt. In fact, Petra couldn't help but hope that he'd be completely torn to pieces. It was better that Petra's feelings were violated. She barely knew Al, so her betrayal of her feelings for him was less painful. The ones who were truly hurting and those who know Al much better than Petra does. Subaru and Amelia were both really worried about Al, and that was why they had given up the time they wanted to be together to create this time. Al had betrayed that. I don't want to forgive him. At times, Petra feels like she's being narrow-minded and nasty. It wasn't just the anger she felt towards Al right now. Ever since the incident surrounding Sanctuary, she had never forgiven Roswell, and there were many times she had come across things in the Empire that she found unforgivable. Petra cannot forgive such things, and she does not want to forgive them either. The only people Petra wants to do good the only people Petra wants to do good to. Okay, I'm so sorry. My reading's bad. Like I'm gonna be better with it. It is what it is. Bear with me. The only people Petra wants to do good to are those who do not do things that she cannot forgive. When I'm around truly kind people, I feel like such a nasty person. Petra-chan is also very kind, I can guarantee it. Petra involuntarily looked down, and Meili gently patted her head. When she raised her head at the touch of her palm, she saw that Meili had a strange look on her face. She had a strange look on her face, as if she was annoyed with herself and at Petra. I'm saying she instead of he because it seems like they've been messing up the whole gender thing, at least the translation. It'll be a pain, but let's take Garf downstairs. He has divine protection, so maybe he'll heal better if we lay him flat on the ground. Petra suggested this without any words addressing Meili's expression or the hand on her head. Fortunately, neither Garfield nor Ezo are particularly large for men. Above all, Petra and Meili are just weak girls, but I understand. Let's take Ezo-sama with us. It would be much more troublesome to have to take care of him separately, upstairs and downstairs. As she spoke, Flam lifted the two of them up. Although she is a girl of the same age as Petra and the others, her physical abilities are incomparable. She is said to be a servant in the mansion of the Sword Saint, but perhaps that is the reason for her strength. Anyway, I feel like this isn't the end yet. Having done something outrageous, Al leaves the tower with the divine dragon and is soon pursued by the Sword Saint Reinhard, who had heard Flam's message. So both Meili and Flam seem to think that whatever goal Al had were going to be ruined, but Petra wasn't so optimistic. One reason may be that Petra doesn't know Reinhard personally, but more than that, thought it was a little odd that Al, who had Subaru at his command, hadn't taken any measures to deal with Reinhard. What if even Reinhard couldn't stop Al? Huh? Flam carried Garfield and Ezo on his back and left. I'm just gonna read the pronouns as they are, even if it's a mistake, because I'm getting confused. I'm getting a bit confused. Flam carried Garfield and Ezo on his back and left the room, and Petra and Meili were packing up their travel gear and were about to follow him when Petra, who was shoving her tools into her bag, felt something strange deep inside and pulled it out. It is a book? The book that Petra took out of her bag fell into her hands. It looked familiar. There were so many of them in the tower. It was literally one of mountains of books. There's no doubt about it. This is one of many books of the dead, lined up on the third floor library. The existence of the Book of Dead is not strange in itself, but it seemed odd that it was here. Ezo had given them a strict warning: do not take the Book of the Dead out of the archives, and everyone should have been okay with that. And yet, the Book of the Dead appeared from his bag. Subaru's bag. The bag in front of him was the one containing Subaru and Beatrice's personal belongings. The bag contained the essentials: a change of clothes, and Beatrice's growth diary. But for some reason, the Book of the Dead was also secretly hidden inside. I can't read the name. Petra swallowed and checked the spine and frowned. I had heard that on the spine of the Book of the Dead, the title of the book, in the case of the Book of the Dead, the name of the person whose life and death is written in the book is written. In fact, regardless of whether one has the qualifications to read the Book of the Dead in the library, one should be able to see the title on the spine. However, the title of this book is illegible. It has been scraped off so that it has been unreadable. Petra tries to imagine the true identity of the book with the erased title and the hidden meaning in the bag. The intention behind erasing the title was, of course, to conceal who this Book of the Dead belonged to. The reason for hiding it in the bag was also likely to be to conceal its existence. And since this Book of the Dead was hidden in Subaru's bag, the book that Subaru hid Petra-chan, my luggage is all packed up. How about you? Meili-chan. Hearing this, Petra, who had stopped what she was doing, turned to look at Meili. At first, Meili tilted her head in confusion at Petra's unusual behavior, but then she was startled when she noticed the book in her hands. Petra-chan, that book! It came out of Subaru's bag. Maybe it's this. Is that book? It might give you a clue as to what's going on right now. Gripping the book's cover tightly, Petra realized that this was not an entirely wrong guess. Al's sudden rampage in the tower. Originally, Al's purpose was to read the Book of the Dead of the deceased royal candidate Priscilla Burial, or he may have had other purposes, but in any case, he must have had a purpose in the tower. What if the purpose was perhaps this, Book of the Dead, and Subaru had decided that he should not give this book to Al, and had hidden it in his bag? What if that was the cause of the divisive rift between Subaru and Al? Okay, alright, I'm gonna pause real quick. My heart is racing. My heart is racing so fast right now. Okay, like, ignoring, like, the poor reading skills. Oh my goodness, bro. I thought that it was Subaru's book, and she was about to read it, bro. Dude, oh. That, okay. As I was, like, reading it, when it said, like, the book fell out, my heart dropped, and it started beating hella fast. Like, I'm sitting here fucking nervous, bro. I don't know how this is gonna go. This is very interesting. This is very interesting so far. Again, my apologies for, like, the poor excuse for a fucking reader. I'm sorry. Bad at it. I'm trying. I'm trying my best. Oh my god, dude, that's intense. Oh my god. Okay. Okay. If you read this book, you might find out. I don't recommend it because I think it's dangerous. But I can understand Petra's feelings of not wanting to end things without being able to do anything. Meili said with a look on her face that seemed to say that this was troubling. To which Petra stuck out her tongue and said, I'm sorry. No matter what Meili said, Petra intended to do it. Subaru and Beatrice had repeatedly told her that reading the Book of the Dead was dangerous. Ezo had boasted that the trick to reading the Book of the Dead was to close your mind and empty it. But it was unclear whether Petra would be able to do that. However, Petra Lete was not the type of girl who would silently leave him behind and allow him to just lie there and do nothing for her. That's why, Meili-chan, if anything happens, please leave the rest to me. Petra. Okay, I haven't looked down. I am so nervous right now. This could be Subaru's book? Priscilla's book? It can't be Al's book. Because there's only one book for Al, and he has it. Dude, I'm so nervous right now. Holy shit. Petra, you have no taste for asking me to do such a thing. After exchanging such words, Petra took a deep breath and slowly turned the page of the book on her lap. She had touched the forbidden memory of this world. Bro! Oh my god! Whose book is this gonna be? Oh my god, my heart is beating so fast. Oh my god. Aldebaran wasn't sure when that would be. It was possible that the girls' hearts were more fragile than Aldebaran had thought, and that they would be unable to accept what had happened and burst into tears, resulting in the face-down card never being turned up. If it had happened, Aldebaran may have repeated the 130,000 times, another 130,000 times, and still continued stacking the stones of Nayuta without any end. However, I thought you girls would think that far. The three girls who were left behind, Petra, Meili, and Flam, are all gifted with experience and intelligence beyond their years, and have rare abilities that they have been blessed with through the environment. Aldebaran read this after finishing treating. Aldebaran read that after finishing treating the dying Garfield and Ezo, they would not stand still, but would begin to take action and move forward. And as they were about to do so, they found a meaningfully hidden volume of the Book of the Dead inside Natsuki Subaru's bag. To them, with nothing to rely on and no signpost to follow, it must have seemed like a handful of possibility left behind by Natsuki Subaru. If they could follow that thread of possibility, they would surely be able to reach the light that would lead them out of the closed dead end. This is no room for them to realize that this is a trap set by Aldebaran, that Book of the Dead. It's a book by Natsuki Subaru. Although this goes against the laws of this world, the Book of the Dead is truly something that could be called taboo. What happens when someone interprets it much more intuitive and difficult to fool when seen with one's own eyes? Bro, I am shaking. I am shaking. Then when explained in words, that's stupid. Wait. As if they were about to do so, they found a meaningfully hidden volume of the Book of the Dead inside Natsuki Subaru's bag. To them, with nothing to rely on and no signpost to follow, it must have seemed like a handful of possibility left behind by Natsuki Subaru. If they could follow that thread of possibility, they would surely be able to reach the light that would lead them out of a closed dead end. There is no room for them to realize that this is a trap set by Aldebaran, that Book of the Dead. It's a book by Natsuki Subaru. Although it goes against the laws of this world, the Book of the Dead is truly something that could be called taboo. What happens when someone interprets it is much more intuitive and difficult to fool when seen with one's own eyes, that when explained in words, that's stupid. Reinhard, his blue eyes wide open, once again, let out the same stunned words. However, no matter how much he tried to deny that reality, it would not go away. If the Sword Saint, Reinhard, was blessed to the world, if it was Subaru's book and someone else saw it, could Satella pull up and attack? Is that what this is? Reinhard was a blessing to the world, and he also cursed the world. Blessings and curses are two sides of the same coin. It is not a matter of one being stronger than the other. That's why no one can stop that except the Sword Saint. Sitting cross-legged on the spot, he looked over Reinhard's shoulder at the nighttime sand of sea, a scene reliant on starlight as its only source of light. And oh my god, bro, I am shaking. And the threat that dyed it even blacker. It was a symbol of upsetting the table, a symbol of ruin, coming from the very eastern end of the world, even further east than the tower where the sage lived, from a sealed shrine where all existence turns a blind eye. It was a demonic hand, forged with the miasma of the witch, surging in like a black tsunami. By touching upon a taboo, he allows the witch of jealousy to intervene in the world. That was the miasma time bomb that Aldebaran had set up to counter Reinhard. Oh my god! Oh my god. Are we? It was Subaru's book. It was Subaru's book. Oh my god, it was Subaru's book. And he forced Satella to come. Are they about to fight? Is Satella and Reinhard about to fight in Arc 9? Dude, I feel drunk. Oh my god. If you want to kill me first, I'll fight back with all my might. I'm telling you, if you don't go, the world will be destroyed. But I don't mind. What are you doing? Even if the world perishes, I won't perish, because that thing will continue to ignore me. For this reason, Aldebaran itself could not have been the switch for the bomb. Only someone with keen eyes, intelligence, and the courage to turn things around could pull this switch. Reinhard, I don't want to destroy the world. In fact, quite the opposite. I won't lay a hand on you then. Go. Don't go thinking everything's going to be okay, Al. Gritting his teeth in frustration, he was probably cursing as much as he could, but still, leaving his overly refined knighthood behind, Reinhard kicked the sand, turning his back on Aldebaran and the others. Reinhard headed straight ahead and ferociously attacked from the side at the evil hand of the Witch of Jealousy that was closing in to engulf the Pleiades watchtower. In that moment, Aldebaran experienced the illusion of sound, the illusion that sound, color, light, heat, and everything else that should have been sorry, I'm shaken. I'm shaken right now. That should be there or taken away from the world. The white strike of the Sword Saint and the black destruction of the Witch collided, producing a color that was neither white nor black. It was comparable to the cataclysmic Big Bang that had occurred just moments before during the battle between the Sword Saint and Shenron. The starlight, the lightning bolts, and the flames that reduced the night into ashes. And the Big Bang didn't just end with that one moment. It continued and continues and continues. Hold on. Sorry, I am going through it. I'm going through it right now. Like I needed to take a second, breathe. Oh my, bro. Oh my god. At first I wasn't sure how this chapter was gonna start. Damn. Where am I? Over and over again, endlessly, without end, with no end in sight, heat is born, light is born, color is born, sound is born, as they collide as if to reinvent the world, as if to separate the world from the past, from the world to come. It was an inconclusive battle between that which never ends, and that which will never perish. I was put to sleep? What happened? The plan worked, and they succeeded in pitting Reinhard against the Witch of Envy. The legendary clash between the Sword Saint and the Jealous Witch had occurred near the tower, several kilometers away, yet its repercussions reached all the way here, terrifying in their own way. As if sensing the after effect, Aldebaran, who had been unconscious, woke up. Aldebaran was sprawled out on the sand, exposing himself to the most dreadful of creatures, but as a shockwave reached him from afar, his golden eyes narrowed. Looks like you did well. Yeah, the sleepy and incomplete Witch of Jealousy and the Sword Saint, which is not in perfect condition due to the miasma and injuries to both arms. It was worth crossing 130,000 snapping ropes. Can you do it? Other than my itchy throat and the fact that the dragon's shell in my mana tank has taken a lot of mana out of me, I have no problem flying through the sand sea. That's fine. We can sync up whatever happened while you were sleeping later. Now is the time to... The moment he stood up, ready to go, something flew in from far away with incredible force, aiming for Aldebaran's legs, and Aldebaran quickly swatted it away with his tail. It was bounced off and rolled across the sand like a mere pebble, likely thrown towards Aldebaran by Reinhard, who was holding back the evil clutches of the Witch of Envy. They'll keep coming, one after the other. It might continue until they're completely out of sight. The attack of tiny flying stones continued, but as Aldebaran spread its wings and embraces it for protection, Aldebaran is impressed by Reinhard's sense of mission. While he understands his role as a savior, he also pours his heart and soul into other areas as well. This Sword Saint seems to be more greedy than that person Aldebaran knew. While thinking that this must surely be the influence of someone close to Reinhard. I told you, hero, I'll win anyway, even if I lose 100,000 times. Leaving behind words that could not be conveyed, Aldebaran was caught by Aldebaran and flew into the sky once again. In the nighttime sea of sand, the figure of the Sword Saint holding back the delusion of the Witch of Envy head on, darker than night, was like a martyr facing a giant tsunami all by itself. However, that martyr would rather be left alone in the world after its destruction. If we do it now, we might be able to attack him from both sides and defeat the Sword Saint as well. What's the point in doing that? With Reinhard gone, there'll be no one to close the lid of hell. We'll have to ask him to take the role of that lid. I was just saying that. I can't let him die. From the very beginning, he had never had the slightest intention of letting Reinhard die. However, if he hadn't attacked with enough force to kill, he wouldn't have been able to inflict any damage. He simply recognized that the Sword Saint was a very high wall. I think everything will be fine, huh? A high wall of martyr left behind by the world. His parting words come to mind. Could this also be the power of the divine protection? If so, then the divine protection of vital points may have been given something like the divine protection of weak points, and that might have been what was activated. Indeed, Aldebaran has the power to attract the results you desire with an infinite number of attempts. Even though he has the power, there's never been a single thing that I really wanted to do go right that actually went right. Even after reaching the other side of 132,440 resistances, the feeling of defeat never disappeared. I'm fucking up the last line. Even after reaching the other side of 132,440 resistances, the feeling of defeat never disappeared from the heart of the one who was neither blessed nor cursed. I'm sure I could have read that better. I'm sure I could have read that much better. Again, bear with. I'm not used to doing this, so like, you know, the more I do it, the better it'll get. My God, what a chapter! I'm gonna need time to think about this to really let like my thoughts, you know, really like come together. This chapter was crazy. Oh my, this chapter was crazy. Not only did he secure Volcanica, but he made a ticking time bomb for the Witch of Envy to pull up as a dude. I don't know if I should love or hate Al. This man is a genius. Infinite tries, and even like after 130,000 deaths, 130,000 attempts, he's like, yeah, this is a brick wall. This isn't a brick wall. This is the highest, most impenetrable wall I have ever tried to surmount. I don't even see the peak of this wall. Satella. But like, what? What? Bro. Okay, Subaru's book. Like I know what we read. I know we basically confirmed that it was Subaru's book. It's Subaru's book. But okay, say it's a book by Natsuki Subaru. But like, that's crazy, dude. That is crazy, dude. That is so fucking crazy. Did Subaru put his own book in his bag? Or did Al find his book in his bag and scratch the name off? Like, or did he find, did Al find Subaru's book? And because, like, I don't think Subaru would have just casually let his book stay, like, out in the open, right? I don't think that's something that Subaru would do, like, knowing that he's coming here with someone who can read it. I think after, like, getting his book in Arc 6, I don't... Man, this is crazy, bro. This is crazy. And like, okay, so let's go back. See, now I get why they were putting so much emphasis on how Petra felt so bad and her sense of wanting to be useful and help. Dude, it's a fucking masterpiece. This is peak fiction. I would not have guessed that his next choice, because the more I think about it, him trying to use having Heinkel as a bargaining chip, you know, in hindsight, of course, it's not gonna work on Reinhard. Of course, he's a knight, but you know, Julius is the most knightly of knights, but Reinhard is like the greatest knight, right? Or am I mixing up their titles? But Petra Lete was not the type of girl who would silently leave him behind and allow him to just lie there and do nothing for her. That's why. That is wild to me. That is wild to me. That is absolutely freaking wild to me. How is this gonna get resolved? If Petra read it, okay, wait. It's either Petra read it or she attempted to read it. Hold on, chat. Sorry, I got a phone call. You need to take that, but okay, so I'm thinking like, if Petra was like, as soon as she opened it, because she was about to consume the knowledge of Subaru's authority, that's immediately what sparked Stella. There's a chance that Petra didn't get to like read it, right, and like actually get into it. So there's a chance that she doesn't know about Subaru's return by death. However, on the other side, she read it. She knows. If we move, like, no, because Satella wouldn't allow anyone who knows to live if they made it like if it was like obvious, right? Because everyone who like knew or found out, like they only subtly like imply that they knew, or kind of like they didn't say, oh, I know you can like do it, because they don't know the exact ramifications of how it's done, which is why, like, you know, Roswaal being aware that Subaru can loop doesn't really make Satella want to come for him. Plus, like, that whole thing got like kind of resolved in Arc 4, but it's still like this is a matter of like him not knowing that it's by death, and no one knows the exact like secrets other than the Witch of Greed. But I'm really curious to how this is gonna pan out. Like, people in the chat, like, Let me know in the comments like what you guys make of this chapter. Let me like drop your opinions and like your thoughts on this chapter if you haven't read it. If you're waiting for the official translation by Witch Cult, by all means, go ahead, like, you know, wait for the official translation. Things may get like, you know, smoothened out a bit better. I'm thirsty. I wanted to read it as soon as I knew it was out. But yeah, so that's insane. This is an insane chapter. I don't even know what to expect. Like, what's going to, because like it makes it seem as though this is going to be set in stone. Although it's not the fool witch, like, okay, wait. By touching upon a taboo, he allows the Witch of Envy to intervene in the world. What happens when someone interprets it is much more intuitive and difficult to fool when seen with one's own eyes than when explained in words. So, does that mean that she knows, she saw it? Like, how much did she see? Dude, ReZero, you cannot predict this shit, man. The only stuff about ReZero that you can predict is the stuff that like Tappei Sensei wants you to be able to like predict. If he's very on the nose about something or like makes something very easy to interpret, I feel as though that it's not that, you know, there aren't some like intelligent individuals who, you know, can read between the fine lines and can like come to very precise conclusions to, you know, break down what may or may not be happening in like a moment or what could happen. I'm not saying that there's not people like that. That's not what I'm saying at all. But more often than not, this series, I say that this has like the best plot twist and shocking events and mysteries in fiction. Like, come on, bro. Last chapter, I mean, like, I know we were at the Pleiades Watchtower, but like, if you had asked me after reading the last chapter, like, do you think that in the next chapter Al would have like summoned Satella, I'd been like, nah, no way. Like, there's no way he's gonna get Volcanica on his side and get Satella to like enter. Like, there's no fucking shot. There's no way that I would have. There's no way. There's no way. This is crazy work. I don't even know what I want to like discuss. You guys, like, in the comments, like I said, if you've read it, tell me what you think about this chapter. If you enjoyed the chapter, let me know how, you know, let me know. Like, leave a like, leave a comment. I think this is an insane fucking chapter. Definitely like a really good follow. Like, at this point, we, like, you know, for Arc 9, we kind of like hit the ground sprinting. We hit the ground sprinting. Dude, oh my, oof. This is an insane turn of events. Bro, if you want to kill me first, I'll fight back with all my might. I'm telling you, if you don't go, the world will be destroyed. But I don't mind. What are you doing? Even if the world perishes, I won't perish. Because that thing will continue to ignore me. That's an interesting line. That's a very interesting line. I wonder what this entails. This has to mean that there is some type of relationship between Satella and Al. Even if this world perishes, I won't perish, because that thing will continue to ignore me. I need to know the backstory between Al and Satella. For this reason, Aldebaran itself could not have been the switch for the bomb. Only someone with keen eyes, intelligence, and the courage to turn things around can pull this switch. Could this have... Who is Al working with? Is Echidna here? Reinhard, I don't want to destroy the world. In fact, quite the opposite. Ugh. Won't lay a hand on your dad. Go. Don't go thinking everything's going to be okay, Al. Gritting his teeth in frustration, he was probably cursing as much as he could, but still, leaving his overly refined knighthood behind, Reinhard kicked the sand, turning his back on Aldebaran and the others. Reinhard headed straight ahead and ferociously attacked from the side at the evil hand of the Witch of Jealousy that was closing in to to engulf the Pleiades watchtower. In that moment, Aldebaran experienced the illusion that sound, color, light, heat, and everything else that should be there were taken away from the world. Bro, we might have to make a whole different video to talk about like this chapter, because this was like the read first impressions. By God, wow, what a chapter! I'm gonna wrap it up right here. Okay, because I feel like this video may get like a little bit of traction. I don't want to set like goals. I don't want to do something like that for like a video like this, because I know that like a good amount of you guys may actually end up really enjoying this and want to see more, regardless of like how many likes that it gets or how many likes it doesn't get. But bro, I feel high right now. I feel high as shit right now. I feel so high for reading that shit. Like, I have a head high right now that's crazy. Okay, chat, sorry. This has been your boy Shaq, aka Black Goku. If you enjoyed this read-along video, I will do better in the next one. My apologies. I know it was rough. Leave a like, subscribe, hit that bell for more ReZero content. Because I want to cover more ReZero. Like, it's my favorite. It's my favorite thing in fiction. It's my favorite thing in fiction. Like, come on, bro. Like, I sit here surrounded by, like, you guys think this is a game? You guys ignore my cereal right here. You guys think this is a game? I quite literally keep a lot of ReZero stuff just like on my table, on my desk, right here. Bet you guys are wondering who this character is. Yeah. Dude, like this chapter, absolute cinema. Anyway, I'm gonna catch y'all in the next one. I'm bricked up, y'all bricked up, stay bricked up. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.